Run the jewels, son. Run the jewels, son. Yo, the Most High gave me a plan, helped me to understand, gave me more of the courage to do more than I knew I can. A newer man, polishing jewels, getting through a jam, food for land, food for your thigh. It's time to use your change. All right, what up, world? Big Profit Jewel Podcast, episode number 4. And I got my big homie here with me, Lalincw, aka LC Williams. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, brother. Thank you. Blessed. How are you, sir?
I'm good, good. Thank you, man. Thank you for joining me. Now, this brother is very educated, intelligent, student of detoxification and dieting and how to heal yourself through food. So, how long have you been practicing this lifestyle?
Oh, yeah, it's been about 5+ years. I think I started in my mid 20s or so, but then it really kind of kicked off before I hit 30. So, yeah, I would say I've been about, on average, about 70% raw. So I'm a raw vegan, which means that we don't cook food for the most part, nothing processed. So you're basically just eating, your basic fruits, mostly fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. So I'd say I've been about 70 to 80% raw for the last 5+ years. And this year I'm going to be closer to 99%. Last year I was like 95. So it kind of varies. Like every year I feel like I'm throwing away certain temptations. They disappear. And
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, every year it's gotten better for sure. That's it's a great journey for those of you that know what raw veganism is. It's kind of new, but there are some legends out there to learn from that taught me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very natural lifestyle. Like,
Mhm.
yeah, I imagine that's what we were doing before we cooked food, before we had all these processed foods and yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
what inspired you to start following this path?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just as you said, like learning little jewels, we're the only animal that cooks our food. I was like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So like you just pick up these things from these great teachers that I was able to come across through the internet. Legends in the game like Dr. Morris, um, Dan McDonald, all these guys that have got their YouTube channels taken away. It's just when you see the fear of the information, it makes me run towards what are they saying that people are afraid of,
Yeah,
and then I would learn these things that were, um, according to these people that seem very trustworthy that I've never met before, but through discernment, I felt like that soul connection and that wisdom that they had. And so I was able to learn a lot from them. And then it was resonating with things that I picked up along my life, like just feeling good eating raw fruits and things like that, things that I didn't eat for most of my life. And then when I gave it a try, I was like, oh wow, all these problems um, that they said it would heal, it was doing. So stopped getting sick very shortly after. Um,
that's wild.
yeah, yeah. Because what ends up happening is like those sicknesses that we catch, that we trip into a sickness when it gets cold outside, is really like a signal to our bodies trying to get us to detoxify our bodies. And so then we suddenly get all this mucus and all this coughing that suddenly starts coming up and it's trying to get out as fast as it can. But when you're regularly detoxing, you're kind of putting very mild cold symptoms on yourself um, as you begin. Depending on how badly, depending on how severe your situation is, for the average person that doesn't have anything too significant, you'll kind of put yourself into cold and flu-like symptoms as your body starts to repair itself, heal itself, push things out. You're going to be blowing your nose and things like that, but it's much less painful than going through a full-on flu or a cold. So so yeah, so stopped getting sick, and yeah, just started feeling really, really good. Um, yeah, there was just really no reason for me to stop after I got started. And so as time goes on, it's just it becomes harder and harder to go back to eating the way that I was. It just doesn't make any sense. I feel completely different. Like the energy levels become so much lower and different. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So, you mentioned that some of the people that you followed on YouTube that their channel was shut down, and all they shared was just diets and like food, information about food.
Pretty much. I think they made it a long way. Like I'm surprised they made it through COVID. They had to be very careful during COVID. Um, because of the heavy kind of censorship that was going on.
Yeah.
Um, Prior to COVID, a lot of naturopaths had their, you know, um, channels taken down. Not just naturopaths, but just people that were experimenting with alternative lifestyles and so on. And so these people, they were great speakers, as they tend to be the ones that get so popular and then get targeted. Um, So Dr. Morris, yeah, his channel was speaking directly to people that were writing to him and asking him, what to diagnose what was going on with him essentially, and he'd just break it down very simply and explain to the layman like how it works, and then if they wanted to know more, then he has a school online as well. Others they were talking about juicing, juice fasting, how important that is to cleanse out the body, and I think they were just touching a little too close on the truth. And being anti-establishment, that's just how it tends to go. That's the only downside with being on sort of some of these major platforms in the current time.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man.
So you were telling me that you got to hear a lot of or see a lot of different transformation stories of how people healed themselves. So what are some of the examples or the best stories that you've heard?
Yeah, there's been so many. Most of them center around like coming back from something quite severe. So anytime you hear somebody that went through something like cancer, there's a lot of good books out there. Like The Great Cures is an old but famous book that um, tells the story of a lady who cured herself on just grapes, and that is one of the protocols
Just
for
grapes?
just grapes. I think for her nowadays we would probably want to supplement it with herbs, but this was her story was almost 100 years ago, so times were a little different back then. They're probably better grapes too. Um, but yeah, like stories of people eliminating not just one tumor, but multiple tumors.
Wow.
I mean, essentially, a tumor is just damaged cells that the body can't get rid of. It's blocked, the sewer system's blocked, so now it's stuck there. And so then as you start to hydrate the body through an alkaline diet, it'll start to dissolve itself and flush itself out. So same kind of stuff that's like in acne, like that type of pus, would be the same type of stuff that's like filling a tumor. So it's kind of like there's stages, like everyone's kind of at different stages, but the most significant ones are the people that were able to come back from what we consider death's door, which would be something like cancer, which is for the most part um, definitely something that somebody can take care of uh, through a through this type of a lifestyle, assuming they aren't, stage 4 or gone so far off that, sometimes the body just it has to give up. Like you have to move on from here. But the fact that people like in that situation have been able to come back, people that have come back from things like heavy neurological damage, um, ALS, quadriplegics that have been able to reconnect their nervous systems. People that are can't move, can't talk, being able to get up and start moving again, things that are unheard of, and it's like, it's until we allow this information to come out and until we talk about this, that's why it's so important to have these conversations. Yeah, it took a lot of like just sitting with myself, watching these YouTube videos and watching people talk about these things, reading about their stories. Some of them written really great books. Highly recommend the Detox Miracle Source book by Robert Morris as well. Um, the Mucusless Diet Healing System by Arnold Ehret. So many that were great healers, saw so many people, and now we can finally kind of share these stories in the 21st century. And yeah, so I myself had a very good healing crisis as well. So they call them healing crises, but you could also just call it healing events through doing a raw diet, um, enemas. If you choose to take that as well, I found to be very powerful. Released a huge amount of lymphatic stagnation that I had here underneath my chin. Opened it up like a lesion, just as if God's just doing surgery on me. Just cut it open. It was pouring out, same kind of stuff that comes out of acne, which I knew because I had quite a bit of that when I was growing up. And over a couple of weeks, my mouth was kind of swollen up, didn't look too great, but came out the other end feeling much better. My ears used to be blocked, but the ears have unblocked. So like I would notice like as I was maybe 2 years into the raw diet, 2, 3 years, sometimes I'd go in and eat a bunch of cooked food and then my ears would block up again. So it was just kind of like it was stuck. Yeah, it was so it was really pulling the plug so these things can drain themselves out. And so the body will, with its wisdom, find the fastest way to get things out of you that need to be removed if you give it the ability to do that, the time and the space for it to do that. A juice fast is another really great way to uh, cleanse your intestinal tract, give the rest of the digestive system and allow it to flush itself out. It'll go out that way. It'll come out through the skin. So yeah, it's not things to be scared of, but things to learn about because we don't want people to be discouraged by the things they're seeing that most people may not be able to understand or explain. But yeah, it's all a good thing at the end of the day if you're putting in the right chemistry into your body. So it really depends on what you're eating a lot of the times because you can have cold and flu-like symptoms because you're eating wrong and your body's trying to trip you into doing the right thing. Or you can start it off yourself, start eating right, and it'll start to cleanse itself out through things like fevers and things that are burning off. A lot of things that need to go, like when a baby has a fever, we don't want to stop that fever prematurely, especially like up to 103, 104 degrees. That fever is burning off those viruses and those bacterias and things like that. So we don't want to be, putting them on some kind of something that's going to stop those natural systems, which are, very important cleansing systems.
That's incredible information, man. That's a and I
Perfect.
learned so much in just the last like minute or two that you of what you just shared. That's incredible. So yeah, like it sounds like you learned a lot about just the body and science, and you mentioned chemistry, like your biochemistry, how each person has their own chemistry. So um what is and you mentioned before about like electricity too, and yeah, when we spoke before, you talked about fruits, and
Mm.
yeah, could you go into that and share that information too?
Yeah, absolutely. So the high electrical foods are generally going to be your fruits, berries, melons. Um, and then also, if you want to juice certain things like greens and herbs, which I definitely do, as you just saw me drinking. Um, these things are the hydrating foods. So with that power is comes the ability for things like the neurological regeneration that we were talking about for people that have significant issues, or even things that are um, less significant, but still most people are affected by, like depression, anxiousness, those types of anxieties. The yeah, the electrical nature of food is, I think, another way of looking at it. The power of certain foods. The highest power foods that we have are the fruits, and we as human beings require the most amount of power just because of the way that we're built, our brains, and um, the fuel that we require. And so the fruits are the highest, and then slightly lower, you get into your vegetable kingdom, and then below that you've got your nuts and seeds and so on. And then as you go further down, once you start cooking those things, it goes further and further closer to zero. And so you
Closer to
don't
what?
want closer to zero.
Okay.
Uh, So we don't want to go down that far because as we cook things, we eat our animal products and so on. Generally speaking, it's going to be really hard to come even close to the amount of energy that you get from fruits um, living on a cooked lifestyle or anything with animal products. Um, and if that's the case, then your body's sucking energy to digest it instead of gaining energy. And so, yeah, so your nervous system is basically like the electrical grid of your body, and so it does require a very high level of electricity. So you can get that from generally berries, fruits, and melons in general. The juicy fruits, especially the heavier fruits, maybe a little bit less so. Those are more for strength, I would say, building. Um, you know, you can kind of do two different things with your body. You can be cleansing it, or you can be building it. Um, I would definitely recommend cleansing it first before you start building it so that you build it on a proper foundation. And so you can do that with a high fruit and herbal diet. I would definitely recommend taking things that are herbs, like herbal tinctures, for example. Herbs are non-hybridized, so they're in their pure state. Um, and they have a lot of power in them as well. A lot of so many good things about them. Of course, that's kind of where medications come from, but that's a bit of almost an ancient wisdom that we've sort of moved away from. But yeah, so I try to take those types of high-powered foods. It really allows my brain to function at its highest. So especially like at the beginning of the year, I think that's a great time to do it. Um, but really, you buy them with the seasons. In the summertime, I'm gonna eat a bunch of watermelon, for example. I can't do that now. Right now, I'd probably doing a fair bit of grapes, and maybe I'll do some oranges. Um, yeah, but I definitely feel the highest vibrational with those types of foods.
Yeah, that's great. And you spoke about nervous system, like some people are able to heal their nervous system.
Yeah, absolutely. So people that unfortunately end up in those situations where they may be in a wheelchair, spinal cord injuries, car accidents, um, heard stories of people who there's one story of a guy who went skydiving and parachute didn't open, full spinal cord separation. It took, I think, at least 6, 7 months before starting to see a reconnection. So it can take some time, um, easily up to a year when we're talking about that type of heavy neurological damage,
Mm.
but it is repairable. And that's the beauty of how these things work. Um, Again, it takes the highest powered food to do it. You won't really be able to do this on vegetables. It has to be the highest electrical form of food. So,
That's wild.
yeah,
I never knew that fruits were so powerful.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I felt it like when we were kids and you'd eat a fruit and be like, oh, this feels great. But I never thought like this is a normal thing to eat. We're kind of taught that like the sugar is too much. Um, or that it's just supposed to be like one little snack on the side or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, like some almost like a dessert kind of thing.
Exactly, yeah. And it is like eating dessert. It's like eating candy for breakfast. It's the best, it's the proper way to break a fast. I just yeah, it's one thing that, when you have breakfast, you do want to start your day off with fruits so that you have something that's self-cleaning. It doesn't require a lot of digestive power. It's giving you energy. So yeah, it's true. I mean, it's wild that we just fell away from this, but like it's almost like you're going back to eating like the way a child would, which is like just soft, tasty, sweet foods. They understand that that's what they want, generally speaking. I
Yeah.
think it comes close to resembling a mother's milk, I believe, in terms of the ratio of carbs to fat to protein.
Mm.
Protein being like 1%, fat being like 3, and carbs being like 7 or something like that in mother's milk, something to that effect. I can't fully remember. But but yeah, or if you make like a green juice and things like that, it usually tends to go into that ratio as well. So there's a good book called the 80-10-10 diet. Some people might like to read, which gives a good outline as well of how the diet should work.
Yeah, you also mentioned when healing using the highest power food. What is the highest power food?
The one and only, ooh, I that's a tough one. I think generally grapes would be known as the most astringent. So it's tough to say highest powered. For me, you know what? There's two. So, like I was saying, there's the cleansing, there's the building. So, the highest powered for cleansing, I'd probably go grapes. The highest powered for building, I'd go bananas. I think bananas because they are, I believe, the only fruit that properly ripens after it's plucked off of a tree. Um, and it gives you a good amount of strength. So without bananas, it would be very difficult to be a raw vegan. I don't even know how I would do it, to be honest. It's a crucial.
Yeah, I can imagine. I love bananas. I love grapes too, so this is great news. This is great. And
Yeah.
how is it like getting food, like shopping and going to the market? What's that like as a raw vegan? Because I know a lot of these things are expensive. So
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's better to start now because um the way prices just keep going up. Better just start now. It took a fair bit of a hit on the wallet when I did my juice fast. Did a pretty nice long juice fast, but I like going to the grocery store. To me, it's like my favorite thing to spend money on, if anything, because it's not only helping and healing me, but it tastes great. I like giving money to like some of these small organic grocery stores if I can find them, and yeah, I love it. So I generally spend most of my time in the fresh produce section, and then maybe I'll just pick up like in the wintertime, I might pick up some pre-cooked soups. There are some good companies in here in Canada that makes those, or pick up some cashews or pumpkin seeds, stuff like that. I'm pretty quick in and out of the grocery store. I don't really spend too much time. Maybe go once or twice a week tops. Um, yeah, but when I was doing my juice fast, I was going almost daily.
you shop a lot locally, like um
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Really good little spot called Tiano's on the border of Pickering and Scarborough. I've been going there a lot lately. Yeah, I just go there, pick up organic avocados, make myself some guac, sometimes for dinner. Pick up some bananas, you got your mangoes. They have like both organic and non-organic, so kind of just depends on what you can get. Um, yeah, definitely, price wise, it's if you're a smart shopper, you can go around and find things. But yeah, it's not cheap. I will admit, but no, it's not too bad either. It's definitely you either pay now or you pay later. They say, right?
yeah, There you go. That's true. Yeah, so how many times do you eat in a day?
Probably like uh 4 times maybe. I'd say roughly four.
Okay. And do you consider like a smoothie a meal?
Yeah, yeah. I would say like one of these smoothies would be a meal. This is a green juice, so maybe count that as one meal as well. It's a bit light. Um, yeah, so I find myself kind of snacking as well throughout the day, but I try to make it snacking on something good. But yeah, I'd say about 4 times a day. I don't really count too much. Um, yeah, I try to eat as much as I can earlier in the day, not too much later. I can stop by like 8, 9. I think that's a good idea for sleep. That's probably as late as you want to go. Have the heavier things around lunchtime, like a salad, things like that.
Yeah. Okay. What do you do for protein?
Yeah, so most of my protein, I would say, getting it right now. Well, my diet is, I'd say probably 75% fruit right now, maybe 10 to 15% nuts and seeds, which are quite heavy. You can definitely get a fair amount of protein from that. And then greens. So greens have a lot of protein as well. Got spinach and things like that. Um, but yeah, I don't focus too much on the protein. I think for the most part, I would say it's the least of the macronutrients, uh, percentage wise. And as somebody that's starting to get into building as well, it's going to be an interesting experiment to see how far I can go and or how limiting it is. But so far, so good. Definitely been getting stronger. And yeah, I do want to stress like the protein is something that most people do think they need a lot of, especially men. When I would say it's not the case. I think for the most part, we're overdoing it heavily with the protein, which will cause a lot of acidity in the body because it's a very complex structure for the body to break down, especially if you're getting it from animal. Um, which if you are, I would probably take a really good digestive enzyme as well, just as a side note for people that eat a lot of cooked food. Um, because because of the power that it has. I'm going to go back to that in a second, but yeah, the protein, I think for the most part causes a lot of kidney, liver damage down the line. Um, Especially guys that are, they get into their older years, 40s, 50s, that have been weightlifting a lot and things like that. So we don't want to do that. We want to build on a cleaner foundation, I would say. And so, yeah, so the protein thing, I'm not quite sure where it became such a, like how this became so large in the public consciousness is like, I'm not getting enough protein when, most of the body functions on carbohydrates, 70% at least, I would say you want to look at. And your body's not going to start breaking down your muscles to use as fuel unless it's not getting enough of that. So I think people are afraid that if they don't eat enough protein, that they're going to lose a lot. But body's smart enough to not do that, especially if you're still stressing those muscles on a regular basis and sleeping enough. It shouldn't be reducing all of that muscle that you built. It's not going to do that. It would be like burning down the building to keep the home warm. So I would say, yeah, that's I don't worry too much about the protein. Going back to the digestive enzymes, I think that that's another thing that people can use to help their bodies digest the food that they're eating. So I get a pretty good digestive enzyme from a company called PuraDyme, which is run by another legend. His name's Lou Corona. So he makes a very good digestive enzyme for a reasonable cost as well. And so I use his, and he's done experiments going back to your question on electricity, where he's taken an electrode with a light bulb and put it into some water and shown how, the water doesn't have the energy to light this light bulb. But if you put it into coconut water, it can light the bulb. So there's something about the energy where the fruit is able to structure um, the nutrients in the water in such a way that it has this power to do it. And so then he also goes and takes his enzymes and stirs it into the regular cup of water, and it's able to light using that. So
It's incredible.
it is, yeah. So it's turning the lights on using the power of the foods, and thankfully there's people out there that have been looking into these things, and experimenting, with all the soil deficiencies and what are we missing and how do we get it.
Wow, man. Shoot, like I think I'm gonna go to the grocery store in just a minute to just get some coconut water and some like also yeah, like can you tell me more about enzymes? Like what is an enzyme?
Yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, I would definitely go get some coconut water. I would try to get some frozen coconut water if you can. That's the best kind you can get, I
There's some
think.
way?
Frozen. So like rather
Frozen?
than in the plastic containers, it's just more like it feels more alive. Like it seems like it's less inert, like sitting in those plastic containers on shelves for days and days and days in a warehouse somewhere or whatever. If you can get it frozen, it tastes like you just opened up a coconut and started drinking. It's
Wow,
amazing.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah, enzymes are used by the body for just about every function. So it's like the catalyst for chemical processes in the body. Um, so there's just countless things that your cells doing at any given time, and so it needs these enzymes to be able to convert and and carry out those processes. So there's a number of different types of enzymes, but um, your body produces some of them, and then some of them you get from food. But if you're cooking your food, you're going to lose a lot of those enzymes, and so that's another reason why with the enzyme deficiency we've got a problem. And so people that eat a lot of cooked food, I would definitely recommend taking a good enzyme supplement, at least for some time. Um, yeah, but if you are on a fairly raw diet, you should be getting it from the food itself.
Okay. Or yogurt that's like I know it's got like probiotics and stuff and does that have enzymes or is uh,
Um, Probiotics are I don't think they cross. I don't think they yeah, they're two separate things. The probiotics, yeah, are also very important as well. So I would recommend using a good probiotic to make your own yogurt if you're going to,
mm,
which is not hard to do, um, and has a lot of power in it. So definitely a good, coconut almond yogurt, for example, be a great option. You could even probably sprinkle the enzymes in that as well and have them together. Yeah, but they are different.
okay. Is that something I could just get at the grocery store, like enzymes, or where would I find it?
Yeah, check out PuraDyme. PuraDyme is a good company that I use, and and the guy who runs it, he's also got some stuff on YouTube, so you can look into the person that actually has created this product. He worked in a few companies over time, like looking into that was working in with enzymes and then seeing how they were cutting it slowly over time to make it less potent but more profitable. And so then he started his own thing. Definitely feel great on them. Yeah, it's definitely a high quality product for sure. And yeah, he himself is an incredible, inspirational person. You should definitely look into Luke Corona if you haven't. He also developed the recipe for the lemon ginger glass, which is a really good juice recipe. But yeah, yeah, probiotics definitely good to get your diet, your bacterial system developed in your stomach, which is what I think a lot of people are missing out on, and but will develop itself as well on a raw diet as well. So like you will feel uncomfortable at first because as you switch to a more pure food source, the bacteria that you already have in your stomach, and even parasites, unfortunately, for a lot of us meat eaters, um, those things will start to tell you that you're not feeling good because you're not eating what you were eating. Because it's like a detox, it's like a withdrawal symptom until you rebuild it. using the raw. So rebuilding that bacterial culture is going to be key for sure.
See, um, so one of the things that I focus on in the show is like mental health. We spoke a lot about physical health and food and how that affects your physical health, but how has it affected your mental health?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's something that I think I'm still seeing the positive effects on of it. It's improved my mental health in a few different ways. For one thing, it's removed a lot of I want to say temptations, a lot of the things that I was using as crutches. A lot of people use food as a coping tool for life. Maybe unconsciously eating things they shouldn't be eating or eating more than they should. So getting rid of that for the most part has been helpful. I still do feel like sometimes, I'm not really listening to my stomach. I'm just sitting here snacking on cashews because they're here. They taste great. But the reason why I feel like removing temptations is important is because it's giving you your own strength back. Like you're in control of your mind again. You're not being swayed by um, the desires that aren't feeding you. So having a strong constitution there, just like anyone that's quit anything knows how important that is to have. It not only develops your mind, but then you can use that to stay off of what you were on before, and then use it to build onto the next thing that you want to do with your life and the next thing. So developing a good diet is only the beginning to the next goal that you want to do, and then the next goal, and what are you going to do with this newfound power or clarity that you may have gained. My mind definitely feels a lot more clear. It's for sure more peaceful, quieter. I think most people that do this gravitate naturally to things like meditation and yoga, things like that that are crucial to listening to your higher self, being able to sit in silence, just basic things like that, things where ideas come from. And it's also allowed me to, I think, connect closer to who I am and what my purpose is. There's too much when I do go off the path. I notice these other thoughts and things that are coming in that they don't feel like mine, or they don't feel like they're serving me for sure. So yeah, the mental health question is a big one. I'm still I'm still peeling off the layers on
Growing your own food, um, have you, is that part of your journey?
it. It is. I mean, hopefully someday I got a big garden that I can do that in. Right now, I'm growing it indoors and using one of those little grow gardens. So I grow herbs and just kind of use them in my smoothies. So I grow like all kinds of things: oregano, basil, cilantro, parsley, kale, um, starting some tomatoes, stuff like that. So yeah, working with the space that I've got, but yeah, growing your own is definitely crucial, especially for things like garnishes and herbs.
That's dope. That's dope. So yeah, what's one of your favorite meals that you make right now?
Oh, it would be a fairly simplistic smoothie, I would say. It's always got like a base of bananas, a couple dates, some frozen strawberries, maybe, or frozen berries, and maybe some like flax and chia powder, some sprouted chia powder. Don't want to put too many ingredients in there at one time. It's a little bit much. You don't, yeah, ideally you just keep things simple, but these things, it's like drinking candy. It's so good. So yeah, so something like that in the morning, it'll definitely good way to start the day.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Well, once again, could you like name some of the books?
Oh, sorry, you froze there for a second. Did you say name some of the books?
Yeah, can you name some of the books for that you would recommend for
Okay,
the audience?
please. Yeah, I would say my favorites are the Detox Miracle Source book by Robert Morse. That one is a good mix of biochem, not too much though, good anatomy. It's easy to follow. The Another good one is the Mucusless Diet by Arnold Ehret. It's a bit of an older book. Um, Using similar words, sorry, like synonyms. So like instead of using like acidity, they would say mucus forming because you'd get a lot of mucus when you eat these things that are um, not what the body is really looking for. So as soon as you eat those things, you'll start to notice like your sinuses start to develop mucus because it's having an immune response to try to protect you. So his book was called The Mucusless Diet. Um, what else? The 80-10-10 diet. Uh, that one's a quick one. Um, those are three that I would recommend. Yeah,
Yeah. Like I don't know. In my community, I think it's like Dr. Sebi was one of the first people like we
sure.
heard say any of these things, you know?
Right.
Like and though like what do they call it? The sad diet, the standard American diet, or the like this
Yep.
Western society, like we're just eating so many foods that are harmful to us, you know, and we don't know, but it's just kind of been normalized. So, um, yeah, like I definitely am grateful that you're sharing all these other resources and all this information and all your studying to have a very in-depth understanding of these things and even just how much you've accomplished in your own journey just to uh, show and prove yourself in your own life how powerful this diet is and uh, how many foods we take for granted. You know, like just the power of fruits is just yeah. I don't even realize how powerful these things are and how much we take it for granted.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, nature's candy. We've gone too far away from it. But yeah, no, it's my pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity because this information really just needs to get out there and help people. Like once I started finding people that had cured themselves with these things, and meanwhile, like around me, everybody was just suffering. Like
Yeah,
nobody was getting well. It would be so rare to hear somebody say, "Oh yeah, I'm off my meds now," or everything's yeah, I had a terrible, but now I feel great. So I was like, oh boy, like we got a real problem. So I think everybody kind of sees that in the world to some extent. Um,
yeah. You know, it's just like that's a big thing. You know, that's a big thing. Like just hearing you mention that makes me realize like all I hear is people suffering and being sick, going from one crisis to another. You know, and doctors don't know the answers, and you know, it's just like the amount of solutions that can be just changing your diet is it's definitely just worth a try just to change your diet. You know, like we're just going from medication to doctor to hospital, and you know, at least we should at least try the diet first, see how it helps. You know, so yeah, thank you for sharing this, sharing your journey and your experience,
Thank
and
you.
everything that you learned is incredibly valuable, and it's yeah, it's my honor to share the platform with you so you could uh, help these people, anybody that gets to hear this. You know what I mean? And do you do you have a way to contact you so people could follow up with you if they have questions?
Oh, bro, thank you so much, man. Like this platform you're gonna help so many people. So I'm just glad that I could get to be one of your guests on here. Thank you for inviting me. Yeah, reach out to me by email. I'll give you my links. I don't really use socials, but I'll give you like an old Instagram account, and we'll see. I need to resurrect myself. You've inspired me to get moving again and start to make something happen. Yeah, like you said, we gotta do these things while we can, and this is the year. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the negativity's out there, we got positivity to share, so let's do it.
exactly. Yeah,
I
gotta arm
mean,
ourselves. Yeah.
yeah, well, thank you for making the time
Thank you,
to
brother.
do this, and really appreciate it. Thank you for your support. I
My
mean,
my
greatly
pleasure.
appreciated, and definitely want to do this again. Get you on
Yes,
another episode, and we could keep revisiting this and more topics.
for sure.
But yeah,
Yeah.
thank you very much, man.
Thank you, brother. Anytime.
Yeah,
Talk
have
to you
a
soon.
blessed weekend, great day, and yeah, I'll holler at you, man.
Yes, please. Talk to you soon, brother.
Yeah, to all the people, all the kings and queens out there, this is Big Prophet signing out. Prophet Jules podcast. Holla at my homeboy LC Williams, and yeah, get yourself some enzymes. Get on the detox. Try fasting in some juice cleanse, and let's heal ourselves. Yes, sir. All right, peace and love.
Run the jewels, son. Run the jewels, son. Yo, Yo, the Most High gave me a plan, helped me to understand, gave me more of the courage to do more than I knew I can. A newer man, polishing jewels, getting through a jam, proof for land, proof for your thigh. It's time to use your chance. The world's missing pearls of the wisdom, they blur your vision. Don't let them curb your mission. Stay focused, work efficient. I strike chords that resonate, to help my people elevate. Platform and celebrate, brothers and sisters demonstrate.